Hello, and welcome to this overview of the GMAC's Essential Skills Assessment. So to begin, let's consider some fast facts about this niche exam produced by the same purveyors of both the GMAT and the Executive Assessment that is accepted by select institutions primarily for graduate business program admission. So first, this Essential Skills Assessment is only going to be recommended if your target MBA program clearly requires or recommends it. It is not a replacement for the GMAT nor a replacement for the EA, or should be assumed as such. The exam is always going to be a single 20-minute verbal reasoning section followed by a single 30-minute quantitative reasoning section. It has an online-only at-home administration provided by ProctorU through the GMAC. And during that administration, no physical notes are allowed and no breaks may be taken. So for this approximately 60 to 70 minute exam administration, you must be prepared to stay in your seat for the duration of the time. Also, this has some very important implications for actually taking notes for both the verbal and the quantitative sections. In the only provided space for such notes and interface text box, which is provided adjacent to every problem on the exam. This, of course, has major implications primarily for how you will engage with the quantitative work, as you will not be able to handwrite any of your manual calculation needed to address individual quantitative questions. Now, the exam is scored in that the quantitative section, you're going to have a 10-point maximum. The verbal section is going to have a 5-point maximum for a total of 15 points maximum. And you will always want to ask your specific program what passing score they desire. Frequently, this will lie somewhere in the range of 8 to 10, and an 8, of course, is over the 50th percentile for this unique assessment. So again, ask your particular program what the scoring requirement is, but generally 8 to 10 is good guidance. Now, you will be presented with an unofficial score that is provided on screen upon completion, and that same unofficial score will be emailed to you directly at the email you provided upon registration within 24 hours of completion. The official score, however, will be sent to the program you selected at registration within 7 business days. Now again, because only a select few institutions are currently using the Essential Skills Assessment, you should know at registration where you want your official score to go. In addition, no score cancellations are allowed, so you must accept whatever the score is that is provided upon completion of the exam, and you have a maximum of 2 lifetime attempts. So if you are considering the Essential Skills Assessment, be certain that you are ready to take the assessment before registering and attempting the exam, because you only will have one more chance after that initial attempt. Now, let's start by looking at the verbal section. Of course, 10 total questions in 20 minutes. You will begin with a single reading comprehension passage of 3 to 4 questions, and then all other questions will be individual critical reasoning prompts with tasks addressing either an argument or an individual inference based on the statements in the little self-contained paragraph prompt. So here you can see a sample problem similar to what you can expect to experience within the Essential Skills online exam interface. On the left-hand side, you will see for reading comprehension at the top is the indicator of which questions this passage refers to. In this case, questions 1 to 3. Under that, you can see some replicant text that has been presented to replicate an actual passage. Then immediately under the passage, you have your question task, in this case asking about the primary purpose of this passage, theoretically, and then you will have 5 answer choices from which you can select one. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see that there are notes, and you are responsible for providing your own text box notes. You'll just type them directly into that notepad. This is a little bit of a benefit when engaging with the verbal section because usually people can type their reading comprehension or critical reasoning notes more quickly than they can handwrite them. One thing to note here about this exam, however, those notes, when it comes to these reading comprehension questions that are successive for 3 to 4 questions, those notes do not stay when you click from one slide to the next. So it is incumbent upon you to attempt to use the copy and paste function before moving from one question in the reading comprehension section to another. So if your notes here are what you want for questions 1 through 3, try to select them all, hit Control-C or Command-C if it's a Mac to copy the notes, and then on the next slide, click back into the notes, click Control-C or Control-V or Command-V if it's a Mac to paste those same notes back in so that you don't have to duplicate the work. It is not guaranteed that the copy and paste function will work, but many cases it does, so prepare that it will function the way you would like. Another thing to note about the Essential Skills Assessment, the questions, you can return to them, you can skip and come back, unlike the GMAT or the Executive Assessment. However, in most cases, you will not have enough time to return with great ability to complete things at the end. It's just a very fast-paced exam. Now, the critical reasoning will look something like this. It's a single paragraph with a question immediately following it, again with answer choices below and your notes to be taken on the right-hand side. For the critical reasoning questions, you do not need to worry about copy and pasting anything because each of these questions is self-contained. So it's just a matter of addressing the individual prompt and then going through the section. If you are engaged with critical reasoning questions and you're behind pace, it's better to try to skip the critical reasoning rather than doing so with the reading comprehension. The reading comprehension questions, because they're as a set of 3 or 4, it's more imperative to understand the passage overall there. Whereas for the critical reasoning, if you have to skip in order to finish the entire section, that's only going to be one question at maximum that is affected. So then let's consider the quantitative section, which will come immediately following the verbal without a break. So there will be 15 total questions in 30 minutes. You will have applied problem-solving questions or word problems as every question on the section. So there's not going to be any technical math, there will not be any technical algebra, there will only be word problems in the quantitative section for the Essential Skills Assessment. These word problems will test the concepts of basic algebra, basic computation without a calculator. You will not be provided a calculator on this exam, so mental math and manual manipulation skills will be at a premium. You will also be asked potentially to evaluate concepts such as ratios and proportions within the context of these word problems. So here is a quantitative problem sample. You see it's the exact same interface, and once again you have a paragraph prompt. There will be a question in here as opposed to the Latin replicant text, and then you can see you've got your 5 answer choices, and you still only have that text box notepad. So one of the things that you'll want to do with your practice, especially with quantitative, is become familiar with taking notes for a quantitative word problem in that text box. And that means doing your actual arithmetic calculation within the text box. And we'll talk about that in subsequent lessons as to how best to engage with the text box to keep track of every step, but also not get bogged down in not being able to physically handwrite what is usually done arithmetically just with a pen and paper. So the next piece is registering for this exam. So you'll need to create an essential skills account at this website, gmasc.ysasecure.com/grants. You'll have to pay at current a $129 fee plus any applicable taxes for the full assessment, and you'll have to schedule your exam within 90 days of your purchase date. You are able to reschedule for free with 24 hours notice. If you do so with less than 24 hours notice, there is a charge involved. This is considered a no prep exam by the GMAC. So if you have gone to their website in an attempt to locate essential skills materials, there is very little available. There is a PDF that provides sample questions and a couple of web pages of an FAQ and an about. It is extremely limited. But you will want to visit mba.com/exams/GMAC-essential-skills-assessment for the full exam details that they provide, just to ensure that nothing has changed since the recording of this lesson. Also, you will want to download that aforementioned PDF that is the only provided practice materials for this exam, because the GMAC does consider it a no prep endeavor. You will want to review this course for content that is needed for the exam. We have audited the exam. We have discussed with the GMAC the content of this exam, and we know how to, in theory, with minimal effort, prep for what they consider to be a no prep exam. And you'll also want to practice with some representative problems. And through the course of this course, as it were, we will provide you with both official GMAC content to review, whether it's from GMAT word problems, executive assessment word problems, and of course doing everything with that text box so you get used to that unique interface for the essential skills assessment. So that is the overview of this unique and niche exam. In our forthcoming videos, we will discuss in greater detail specifics for both the verbal and the quantitative sections, and you will have an opportunity to practice for the exam on your own.